Hi everyone and welcome back to Maths and Physics on Assignments. Today's lesson on statistics, grade 11, looking at the third variation, but now we're going to the Ogive. So you need to know how to draw Ogive if we give you a table, right? So question given, they say the average percentage of 150 learners for all their subjects is summarized in the cumulative frequency table below, right? So percentage interval. Learners have got less or equal to 10%, less or equal to 20%, less or equal to 30, all the way to 100. Cumulative frequency 5, 21, 50, all the way to 150. So that's 150 learners. So you may remember for cumulative frequency, it's 5 plus 16 would have given me 21, 21 plus 29, 50, etc. Right? So 3.1, draw the Ogive cumulative frequency graph representing the above data on diagram sheet 2 for 4 marks. 3.2, use the Ogive to approximate the following: the number of learners who scored less than 85%, and then the interquartile range. They say show all calculations for 3 marks, right? So from the table, draw the Ogive. We have a cumulative frequency that was given to us, and we need to know first all Ogives are grounded. So there it's less or equal to 10. So X technically would start at 0 and Y there would always be 0 for my points that I'm grounding. So whatever is on the left hand side of X here would go in place of X here, and then my Y value would stay 0. Right? Then my points that I have to plot, I'm going to now do them one by one. So first I have there my X value is 10 and cumulative frequency is 5. So my second point after grounding the graph would be at 10 and 5. Then the next one should be at 20 and 21. Then 30 and 50, 40 and 70, and so we go along. So these here gives me all my X values, and my cumulative frequency gives me all my Y values. Right, so you see there 20, 21, 30, 50, 40 and 70, 50 and 88, 60, 110, 70, 135, 80, 142, 90, 147, and then 100 and 150. Right, so if we plot these points, there's 0 and 0, there we have 10 and 5, there's 20 and 21, 30 and 50, we have 40 and 70, 50 and 88, 60 and 110, 70 and 135, 80, etc. And we end there by 100 and 150. There must be a smooth curve when we join through it. So generally, my surname is Simons. This graph almost looks like the letter S, right? When we draw it. Make sure it's smooth, don't draw straight lines. Right? So there's how we draw cumulative frequency, my y-axis, cumulative frequency, my x-axis. Here's the percentage intervals given. Right? Make sure you label, and you label the top of the graph. Right? So gave you 1 mark for plotting points at cumulative frequency. So for a cumulative frequency, plotting points, plotting against the upper limits. There correctly, it's grounded at 0 and 0, always 1 mark, and as I said, 1 mark for a smooth curve. So drawing it should be relatively simple. As I say, just don't get caught out with forgetting that the graph must be grounded, but further on the rest I expect you to draw. Right, and now it's a question of whether you can work from this graph. So everything else that I'm going to answer now revolves around the fact that I have 150 learners, right? So the number of learners who scored less than 85%. So that means, can I go to the graph, find 85%, join it up with the graph and see what it gives me on the y-axis. Right, so if we take here on the graph percentage interval, there's 85 between 80 and 90. If I go up and I make contact with the graph there and I go across, you'd see that it's somewhere between 140 and 150. Yeah, my estimated plus minus 144, right? So therefore, how many learners is less than 85%? All these learners below, so my learners would be plus minus 144 learners below 85%. 1 mark there, basically for getting it from the graph, and the second mark for stating that it's plus minus. When I say plus minus, some of you would have 145, some of you have 143, and some of you also, I said it's just better than others. You will somehow get, I've seen learners get 143,825. How? I don't know. But yeah, my eyesight, yeah, sometimes is missed. 3.2, they want the interquartile range, right? So to get the interquartile range, it means I'm going to divide my data into quarters, right? So from 0 to 150, I have 150 customers. To divide that into quarters. So to get to a quarter, I divide by 4. So every quarter is 37,5. So what I mean is 37,5 is where quartile 1 would be. If I add another 37,5, I would get to 75 here. That's where quartile 2 would be. And then I add another 37,5. That would give me, I think, 112,5. That is where my third quarter would be. And 150 is the fourth quarter or 1. Right? So if I go to 37,5, I'm going to draw a line across till I make contact with the graph and then come down. Here by 112,5, where quartile 3 is, I'm going to draw a line across, make contact with the graph, and then go down. Right? So if we do quartile 1, they're 37,5, not drawn to scale, more or less. Go across and down, my answer here should be between 25 and 27. So you can have 25, some of you would get 26, some of you would have 27. We go to quartile 3, as I said, if I add the 37,5, still I get to 112. If I go across, make contact and come down, see there I'm between 61, 62 or 64. Right? If you draw it to scale. So there's my 2 quartiles. Now they want interquartile range, so quartile 3 minus quartile 1, which then gives me, yeah, it just might show 64 minus 26, gives me 38, or I can get 36 or 35 as an answer. So very important that you know how to find quartiles from a graph and how to read the information given. I wish you nothing but the best. God bless. Bye.